There's that question that everyone gets asked at some point. It's a question we talk about, we're doing like mixers or blah, 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 which is if your house is on fire and everyone was safe, what's one thing you'd run back in to save? Not a person, not a dog. They're all fine, but an item.
And it's usually things like the box of photos or the jumper that smells of someone you love or the letters a lover wrote you. But what if it's one single thing that encapsulates everything? What would it be? Something that holds a really powerful story.
What would it be for you?
I know what it would be. I've always said this.
Okay.
In fact, even if above people.
The kids are upstairs.
I'm like, participating in rescue. I've got to get what I've got to get. My fridge.
Your fridge?
My fridge. I have an American fridge. It's 2 doors. And it was a drawer. You could fit a child in it. And I know because it said, don't put a child in here, which I, of course, immediately got one of my kids to climb in before I turned it on. I love that fridge. I really do genuinely love that fridge. I would get the fridge. I mean, I couldn't carry it myself, so I need a better plan.
What'd you give up for Lent?
Lent?
Yeah.
Well, mindless eating, but that's...
Get that fridge on your back.
That's not why I would save the fridge. The reason...
Why would you save... that feels like white goods. Who saves white goods?
Well, it's grey, first of all, because I don't have a racist fridge. So that fridge... we've got 3 kids, so we've got a big family, and they want to eat breakfast and dinner and lunch every day. There's something wrong with them.
All 3 of them.
All 3 of them want that. So we have a lot of food. As the kids were growing up, we've got a circle of grass outside our house, and they'd play, and then their friends would come in and they'd like, have you got ice lollies? And we'd get ice lollies out the fridge, or I'd make them a snack, or so that fridge. And then people would come, and we had Halloween parties and birthday parties and all the food in the fridge. And there's something about that bringing everyone together, And when I open it, it's like, oh, it's like the beginning of the Vicar of Dibley. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not. It's just, I marvel at it because I've got these trays in it.
So what's that about? Like just having enough? Having enough?
I mean, I'll speak for myself. Having lived with hunger, having had no food, no fridge, no food, not just when I was homeless, but being a child at home with no food, and the only food I ate was at school, free school meals. So Monday was hard because you've gone through the whole weekend with no food, and I'd steal pennies out of my mum's purse and I'd take it to the newsagents because you could buy sugar, which will give you a kick and keep you going. We'd eat scraps out of bins. We'd go to the bin. I remember once there was a metal plate, and it had red juice on it, and I thought it was jelly, so I drank it, and it was the blood drained from the meat that my parents had for dinner. We didn't eat. They ate, and we ate the scraps on their plate. And sometimes my parents, my stepdad would scrape it into the bin and say, go and get your dinner, and then we'd eat it out of the bin. And then there's these long periods of just hunger when there's just no food. There's no food to eat. No one can afford anything. Even at university, there's a photo of me in year 1, and I'm sitting on some bars, and I've got ribs. I look dangerously ill because I just didn't have any money. So it was part of my life for so long, growing up and being a young adult, that the fact that I can open this fridge and it's got all this food in it that I'm not going to be hungry. My kids are not going to be hungry. Anyone who goes past our house is not going to be hungry. Yeah. And I said to my kids when they go to uni, look, if anyone's hungry, here's what you do. You've got some food. Make sure you got enough food. It just feels like it's a way of being able to take care of people. It brings people together, and it's putting Savlon over my past that will never happen again to me or anyone I know, because I have a fridge full of food. I don't even enjoy food that much. I don't enjoy eating. I eat because I have to, because I live, but it's the lack of scarcity.
I get that. I mean, I get that. I can see how that would be the case. There's something about a friend of mine also grew up with food poverty, and they talk about a cupboard that they open and all the food's there. And just a sense of safety.
Even as you describe it,
and they're not any. There's no way they will ever. They're fine now. Financially, they're stable.
Yeah.
But there still is that kind of at the bottom of the stomach, at the fear behind the reality, which is this kind of
it's like you know how bad it can get. And I'm not under any illusion, when people, I was doing this thing once where it was at a church where we're doing drama about what do you do, what's your response to seeing someone sitting on the street, and we were doing role play, and they were walking around them, and I'm like, smile. But the thing was, you've done something wrong to end up homeless. And I'm like, you're one divorce away, one sick parent away, one bad business deal away. No one, we're all so close to disaster. And I think I kind of live with, even now, I live with the potential of disaster being. So my fridge.
I can see why you'd roll that fridge out. I see why.
But that's the negative side, but it's also the community. It's the
I hear that. And I think
that's
what's so, those two facets, at least of the story you just told, is one is like a place of just knowing that you're safe and secure. You have what you need. Thank God, and you're describing kids, friends coming over and the community come over. I can sort of see that in mind's eye, and you've talked about people coming over to your house for Christmas and for holiday dinners, and so I can feel that.
I mean, I could buy another fridge. It's not that particular fridge, but
I understand.
It's a posh fridge, It's not a regular.
It's an American fridge.
It's an American fridge.
I mean, if it's a British fridge, you wouldn't.
I'd leave it.
Yeah, it's only got room for a couple eggs and a pint of milk.
A ham hock. That's all I've got room for.
Americans come over. We have a normal. A larger English fridge now. It's not quite an American fridge, but it's like a two sides, multiple shelves.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But when we first moved to Britain 10 years ago, our little fridge was like a little, half a sort of a cubic meter.
Just regular, no freezer
small,
on the
small,
top.
like this, small.
Oh, okay.
So we had a freezer out in the shed, in the back shed. But friends would come over and be like, "Where's your fridge?" I was like, "Oh, it's in the cupboard in the bottom," and they're like, "That little box?" And see, in the States, when you go to uni, you get one of these, and they're called dorm fridges. So the size of an old television.
Yeah.
That's what you get to put your drinks in at uni. But Brits are living out of that.
That's the family fridge.
It is.
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
normal.
So
that's why having a big American fridge is a big thing.
I'm for that.
What about you? What would you
I was thinking about that this morning coming into the studio. I would say, I don't mean this in a moralistic way. This is not about me being morally good, but I'm not super, super, super attached to stuff. I was thinking about what I would take, and I think there are very few things that I would be like, must get. But if I could somehow get my grandmother's collection she had this lovely collection of old colored glass pitchers and vases, little small vases that we have in the kitchen and a couple places in the house. If I could collect that, because she loved it. And it's beautiful. I love colored glass, And a couple of the things are ones that I gave her for Christmas that now I have after she's died. They come to me. So it's a precious thing, and they're not really expensive,
Are these like little jars or
they're
stones,
like little, they're like little jars, little pitchers, little cruets, little, little vase, little bud vases, things like that. And I never use them for anything like to pour water or to oil or flower vases. A couple of them are really lovely, well designed, but lots of them are just little colored glass things, And she loved the way she put them up in one of her bay windows, and she loved the way the sunlight hit them. And they're really beautiful. And I think they're probably not worth altogether more than 50 pounds. They're not worth anything, but I would get those things, as well as if I could make it up to the loft, to the attic, as we say in the States, before the fire consumed. There's a nativity scene, a creche. That is my great-grandmother's from the early part of the 20th century. And I'd get that. I put that up every Christmas. And I love setting out these things are like 100 years old now,
Wow. What's it made of?
It's made of, that's a good question. It's sort of a wood. Most of it's wood. There must be some plastic in it too, but mostly wood. Yeah.
So that both of those are connections to ancestry, aren't they?
They are.
Stories. Is it memories that you have as a child that you're...
No, not really. I mean, just memories I have as an adult. My grandmother's, the glass stuff is stuff that I don't remember them as a kid, but I remember she had a few pieces, and then she started collecting them when I must have been in my teenage years. And then it was something I'd go to the antique shop and buy something for £5 or $5, $10 and give it. And she loved it. She genuinely loved it, that kind of stuff. And the nativity scene, the creche, was one that was put up in her house. It was her mother's. So my grandmother's mother's.
Wow. I mean, the history in
that.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
That must be amazing when you get that out at Christmas and think of all the times
my favorite
that
thing.
That has come out.
It's an easy question to ask, because it tells you something about the other person. But I don't think I've shared on this podcast, but one of my best friends, Kimberly, she and I went to seminary together, and then in our late 20s we were on holiday in Costa Rica, and I was living in Chicago. She lives in Atlanta, And I'd flown down to Atlanta. We flew to Costa Rica and had a great time. And 2 or 3 days into the holiday, her mom rang up. Back in the day, like 2006, something you didn't do, on holiday. You don't ring that, Rang up through the front desk of the hotel and just said, honey, I don't know how to tell you this, but your house burned down last night.
Oh, my gosh.
And so we went to, we flew, somehow drove 3 hours, got in the last flight out that day from Costa Rica to Atlanta. And we got there, and it was like sort of late night when we got there, maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night. And we drove up, and the front of the house was there. And, obviously she was so anxious coming back. Your house burned down. We drove up to the house, and it was there. Like the house was there. You could see some soot coming out the windows, and you think, oh, maybe it's not as bad, And then you walk around the back, and it's basically just hollowed out. So basically all that was left was like the front rooms. She's 29. She bought this house, and all of her stuff pretty much was just gone. And so it was really, really interesting, the things that gave her joy to find. Like she found, sadly, her grandfather's pottery collection was just burnt to, it was just slivers of pottery is gone. But her journals, she's a journaler. All of her journals, they were smoke damaged, but they were all there. So all of her journals from the time she was a young girl were there. That was a great thing. And then also, I'll never forget, this is like 2005, 6. She opened the cabinet. She's like, yes, my Sex and the City DVDs they've made it. So there was that kind of funny stuff too.
Yeah.
But we got together in the back garden that next Sunday. It was a Sunday. And she was a pastor at the time. And so lots of her parishioners came over, lots of our friends who lived in Atlanta. And we basically built this little altar in the back garden, in the backyard, out of the bricks of her house, and laid a couple of things on there and had this kind of sort of a service, really. We're all ministers, in which we gave God thanks that no one was hurt. But there was this real sense on the one level, all this stuff is just stuff. Like it's going the way of all stuff. It'll mostly be gone. Maybe someone will find a 21st century Sex and the City DVD like in 3,000 years. I'm like, what was that? But most of it's going. So in one sense, it doesn't matter. And we're more than materiality. And the other thing is, actually we tie so much significance to material stuff. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. I remember that day.
That to start again as well. Because if you think about it, even if your house burns down today and the insurance company gives you the exact amount of money to replace everything in there, that it's emotionally exhausting. You've lost everything. There is a loss to that. It's like a mini death of like a breakup, and then the emotional load of having to replace it all. I imagine that you'd get what would you get first? There are things that are irreplaceable, like
get that fridge in.
Well, I get another fridge. There's practical stuff, I guess, but it's like the things that you would replace. I read a story. I can't remember who it was by. I don't read a lot of fiction, and it was about a couple that had gone on holiday and they'd come back to their flat and everything had gone, like everything. Someone had taken, like removals, like they've moved. So there was literally nothing there. So they reported that it had been stolen and they said, fine, it took some while and people helped them and blah, blah. But as they started to, they had to buy things to live, so they had to get a chair to sit on a sofa. So, and it was like, what do we get first? But then there were little things like her husband's moustache started to go grey because he'd been using her hair dye to dye it, but that wasn't there anymore and he never bought it himself. He just used hers and she wasn't bothered about it. So there were just these little things that we're so intertwined with the things that we own. Have you heard of Swedish death cleaning?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I want to. I'm doing that. Yeah, of course, we all do that. So, for those who haven't.
Well, carry on.
Well, it's just this thing where I may have got this wrong. Like up until about 50, you're accumulating stuff. So you're buying stuff and you get all this stuff. But at some point, you're not going to be here. And your stuff is a pain in the backside for the people that love you and have to go through it. So the idea is that you get rid of stuff after 50 so that when you're at the end of your life, let's say 100, you're neatly packaged with nothing to do. And it's things like but if you're going to buy something, you give 2 things away. So, and I'm really big on decluttering. I've got 3 kids. I'm constantly... We'll go to the charge shop and they go, oh, we used to have one of these. Oh, I've got something like this. I'm like, oh, you don't now because that's what I put in there last week. Exactly. But there's this thing about getting rid of stuff and I've been doing this a bit. The thing, because I have stupid hobbies like crochet, which means my hobby is actually buying wool, not making anything. So I've got thousands of balls of wool, and I'll use that.
God, I'll bet you.
Well,
do.
not thousands, but I've got a couple of boxes.
I can see your house is full of wool.
It's in a cupboard, you can't see it. But I do think it's going to be sad enough without my kids having to go through every single zip pull that I bought in case I ever made a bag. If everything went, what would you replace? And I actually think I'd replace very little. I'd do the essentials that we needed.
I think there's something really deeply spiritual about this too, especially what you just described. You know, we sometimes think about spirituality as like, and this is beautiful, like a sense of like wanting more, like more of God, more of life, more. There's beauty and truth in that kind of as a metaphor and as a real thing. But there's also something about God gives you less, you know, and what a gift that is too, especially in the second half of life, to realize that actually I need so much less than I think I need. I need so much less than I think I'm entitled to. And actually the way that my desire works is I've been constructed in this world to desire to have more. And actually the real salvation, the real gift, the real freedom is realizing actually I don't need that much. And maybe something about spirituality is retraining the desire to actually want less stuff, you know. So part of me, I think about Kimberly's house, and I don't want to, you know, romanticize it, but when I first saw this question this morning coming into the studio, I was like, in some ways, I mean, I don't want my house to burn down, but like the idea of starting at 50 from scratch, like what would I get and what wouldn't I get? I mean, my design aesthetic is like clean lines. I think I just have like a table, some beautiful chairs, and a candle.
And that's it.
And that's it.
Well, you're going to have to borrow my fridge.
I know. And I'll come over to your house. Come over Aunt Jazz's house. Jonathan's has a different aesthetic.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You're battling each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I would. I sort of fantasize about living in a 1-bedroom flat and going shopping and only having one basket of food. When the kids were little and I was buying, you know, we had a busy house and doing that. But as they leave, I have a strong desire for them to take their stuff out of my house. Yeah. Because that would be great. But I feel like less stuff means less friction. If I've got all these things, I've got to worry about taking. If I live
you have a relationship with all of those things.
I've got to have staff if I live in a mansion. But if you're in like where I don't have a lot of friction because I don't have a lot of stuff filling it up. That's what I'm talking about. So I feel, but I wanted to ask you with this question what I thought. Books. I have had this passionate relationship with books. I don't read a lot of fiction, but I read a lot of, you know, non-fiction books. Love books. And then I got a Kindle. So obviously I could take a lot more books on holiday. And I do love my Kindle, but I still love a book. So I've still got a lot of books on the bookshelf. But because I've also got them on Kindle, they're kind of ornaments.
I get that.
What do you do about books? Because they're so special to me. I used to tell my kids, books are your friends.
Oh, they are my friends.
I've got all their books from when they're kids. Do we get rid of books?
Well, we find my husband and I, Jonathan, are both book lovers. So that's one thing we agree on is we have beautiful bookcases that we had built to house our books, to home our books, to provide a nest for our books. And we love them. But we decided about 2 years ago that we're not going to buy any more shelves.
Right.
So our goal now is not to need any more shelves. So what that means is, because we continue buying books that we love to read, is that we have to do a cull every year. And we do a cull, and before they go to the charity shop, which makes me sad even though it's going to a good cause, I put a stack of books and I take a picture and put it on socials and say, any friends want these?
Oh, nice.
So about a half of the books go to a good home of someone that I know. So I know my friend Rachel Lampard, she took 10 of them, and I know they're happily at her house. They're being cared for. But I'll never forget reading an article in the New Yorker magazine years ago where someone who was also a book lover was moving from a flat in New York to another flat in New York, and they put everything and come down in the lift and put things on the front on the pavement outside waiting for the moving van. And whilst he had gone upstairs, all the books were on the thing. Whilst they were going upstairs to the next load of stuff, the rubbish collectors came and took all the books away. Every box of books was gone. He couldn't get them back. All of his books. He was an academic. He was a writer. They were gone. And I thought,
that feels
there is something, it makes me feel so sad, but also something so liberating. Like, I mean, it'd be so sad. And yet, you know.
I like the idea of a cull, and I used to do car boot sales, and I'd take pictures and put it on Instagram going, anyone who's lent me a book, it's about to get sold. So speak now, I'll forever hold your peace. But I remember when we moved to this house and we had a box of books that we didn't really read, but I can't let go of because I read them once and blah, blah. Anyway, so my son, and he said this with no irony or humour, he was opening some books and he opened the box and he went, oh, is this the box of books you haven't read yet? Mm. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he picked up the top one and it said, how to be a better parent.
Oh,
which I gave him credit. I'm like, I love that sarcasm.
Yeah.
But I don't think he meant it. I just think, but I was always going about, I haven't read these books, but I will do. So we have to save them. Mm-hmm. But we've done a cull and I think I gave away 2 books.
Okay. What'd you get rid of? Do you remember what you got rid of?
I don't want to say because one was written by my friend. So
okay, good.
It wasn't very good, but no, I'd read it. And I didn't want to read it. I didn't think I'd read it again. And she's a mate. She could give me another copy.
You're going to ask John to add that out later.
No, keep it in. One of my friends is a bad writer. There we go. I've said it and I'll stand by it.
I'm
not saying who. So yeah,
lovely.
I don't know. I guess you get less materialistic when you get older. But there are things that
some people do. My mom, though, God bless her, she's 75 and she's still bringing shit home. That basement is full of shit. Every time I come home to visit in Memphis, I'm like, you're getting older now. I said, would you like me to go? It's become a running joke with me and her. Would you like me to help you organize your basement? Because I could really. And Jonathan's mom, who's a blessed memory now, she died last spring. She left behind a whole garage full. Joy, I say this, loving you in heaven, of shit. And she was always like, let's get out there and clean it. I was like, one day you'll die and we'll be left to do it. And guess what? That's us. So thank you, Joy. But I get, so some people don't get freer materially as they get older. And that's not better or worse. That's just different personality types.
Because it's like you've had these things around for so long, they become part of you, and then it becomes a security thing.
I guess.
And then you can't live without it. I can't think of anything in my house that I can't live without.
No, same.
I'm just not that attached.
No, same here.
People.
Which maybe we're just different. Like the mom. Sorry, Mom. She doesn't listen to the podcast.
Hey, Trey's mom. What good parenting
She'll
you did.
Go out to
what a fine boy.
Yeah, well, I think she did pretty well. She'll go out to car boot sales and bring. So it's not even stuff she's had attachments to for like 50 years. It's like,
it's
Mom.
she's
bringing someone else's shit home, and then she puts it on the table and she's like, oh, and then she goes to the basement.
Yeah, Ed's mum has this thing about, I'm going to send it to Ghana. Because clearly everyone in Ghana is waiting for her to send home more and rubbish from those saucepans she got from the charity shop. They're all sitting there waiting for her. Yeah, but there's a whole room of stuff that has not yet made it to Ghana.
I'm curious for people who are listening, let us know, what objects would you make sure to get? Think about what kind of meanings attached to those objects.
Yeah, and why that object more than anything
What memories do they carry? Do they connect you to people who aren't here anymore? That kind of stuff. I think that's one of the reasons I love that my grandma's glass collections, because she's dead. She's still with us, I believe, but she's not here in the same way, and it makes me. I think about her every time I see those glasses, those colored glasses. So well, thanks for listening, folks. For one of the little short takes here.
We're interested in what you think. So if you have a memory or an object or a story to share, you can find us everywhere on spillthespirituality.com. That's a website. Forget that. You can find us on the website. You can find us there. We've got a website.
That's website works. Yeah.
Or on spillthespirituality.com.
You can find us on socials.
At Spill the Spirituality.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. Spill the Spirituality is a project of the Methodist Church in Britain. It's produced by John Ryan and Rachel Matthews. And I'm Trey Hall.
And I'm Jaz and Parfar. So until next time, peace.